pleased to introduce Caron McLoughlin. Caron is a fractional finance director, coach and mentor who also runs Sugarbush Consultancy, working with a variety of businesses focused on developing growth and people. Caron is presenting on developing leaders, and we'd like to encourage an interactive sort of dialogue, and there will be a question and answer section at the end after the presentation, which, as I say, we do encourage people to sort of interact at that point. But if you have any questions, and if you can, please do log those questions in the chat box, and then we can present them to Caron at the end. Without further ado then, Caron, I'll hand over to you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm just going to share hopefully the right screen and you don't see something you shouldn't. All right. Okay, can you all see that? I'm assuming thumbs up, maybe. Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
So first of all, thank you for joining me. There's so much to say, and a lot of it is really common sense, but it's also stuff we tend to overlook. So hopefully today's presentation and whatever we talk about will give you some food for thought, and you can go away with 1 or 2 nuggets that you can apply to your role as a leader. So what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about why leadership matters, about developing your team and your role as a leader, about how you can help your team members develop into leaders themselves, and the leadership characteristics you need to support others on their journey, and why it's important to develop your team. So first of all, why does leadership matter? You may have noticed that often great leaders have great teams, and poor leaders have teams that struggle. Each member of the struggling team may have tremendous capability and potential, but that capability and potential stays untapped. The best leaders make a purposeful choice to invest in everyone they lead. When that happens, people flourish and the group does well. Great leaders enable people to use their brains. You can cast a great vision, get the right people, the right talent, but be leading in ways that people's brains can't follow. And people are empowered when they're in charge of their own work and feel they can make a real contribution to the team. Leaders can motivate or demotivate people. So how does that happen? Leaders can enable people to get great results, or they can simply confuse them so they can't see clearly. They can bring a team together, or they can cause division and fragmentation. They can create a culture that expands high performance, accountability, results, thriving, or cause a culture to exist in which people become less than who they are or who they could be. So great leadership really matters for the whole organization, and it also matters for smaller contexts like teams or departments. Leadership can become a buzzword. We can fall in love with the topic of leadership. And while it is an important discipline, the personal and interpersonal sides of leadership are equally as important as vision, strategy, execution, etc. So no matter how brilliant a vision or strategy is, the leaders have to get it done with and through the people. Neuroscience has shown that people's brains, hearts, minds, and souls are constructed to perform under certain conditions and dynamics. And when those are present, we thrive and we produce. When they're violated, we don't. We can't bring those visions and plans to fruition. And it really all depends on the leader's style and behavior. So developing your team. The role of the leader is to support and guide your team towards success. You are essentially the coach in your team. It's a continuous process of providing individuals with feedback to enhance, maintain, and improve their performance. And the leader or the coach observes that performance, they share knowledge, expertise, and they provide encouragement to assist the team members to continuously improve their levels of performance. Coaching enables team members to develop their thinking and actions in response to different situations. So by taking a coaching approach, you'll encourage learning, growth, and teamwork all at the same time. But be clear from the outset that if you take on that coaching, it is ongoing. It is work that all leaders or managers should engage with their people all of the time, because it really defines your organization's culture and it advances its mission. So what does a leader as a coach do? You will ask questions instead of providing all the answers. You'll support team members instead of judging them. You'll facilitate their development instead of dictating how it should be done. The reality is that you and your team may be good. You may be even better than everybody else, but without outside input, you may never be as good as you could be. We all do better when someone is watching and evaluating, and that evaluation is really essential to our growth as leaders. So looking at the characteristics, so what characteristics do we need as leaders? What do we need to develop? So the COACH acronym is we should care for our team members or those we coach. We should observe their behaviors, their attitudes, their performance. We should align them with their strengths, the things they're good at for peak performance. We should communicate and give feedback about their performance. And we should really help them by doing all of the above to improve their lives and their performance. Sometimes our team members and ourselves, us included, become aware that we need some help to develop further. There may be limitations in your ability or your knowledge that you maybe haven't had exposure to, that an aspect you want to develop into, or maybe there hasn't been a strong role model to base your personal development on. And you can react in one of two ways generally. Number one is you'll become all prideful and swell up and say, I'm not going to ask anyone for help. Or you can be humble and look to others who have greater knowledge and experience. So we're going to look now at how we help our team members to develop into leaders. Nancy Klein, in her book, A Time to Think, teaches about 10 behaviors that generate what's called a thinking environment. And each one is really powerful, but together they can be completely transformative. Have you ever been in a room full of crowded people, and yet you felt like the only person in the room because somebody gave you attention? There are some individuals who have the ability to make you feel as though you matter, that you are seen and heard. That ability to create that feeling in others embodies the principle called the thinking environment. So as an idea, the thinking environment has the ability to completely change the way we make decisions and how we interact with others and how we feel about ourselves overall. As we go through them, think about how well you demonstrate each of these behaviors in your leadership style. So the first one is attention. And this is about listening with palpable respect and genuine interest and without interruption. It may mean not finishing sentences, being fully attentive, not offering unsolicited advice or comments, and it all leads to a person feeling more valued. Secondly, equality. Treating others as thinking equals, giving equal turns and attention, keeping boundaries and agreements, valuing everyone equally. Everyone gets a turn to think aloud and get attention. And knowing you're going to get a turn to speak means that both the talkative or extroverted team members and the quiet ones will get a turn to verbalize their thoughts and make their contributions. For me, this has always been important because I'm a natural introvert. So knowing that there will be a space in that team meeting for me to have my say is really helpful. Ease. Offering freedom from internal rush and urgency. It's often overlooked in our busy lives. We need to incorporate some freedom of thought, some contemplation, free from demands of interruptions. Instead of faster, better, cheaper, we should cultivate internal freedom. Ease creates, urgency destroys. Appreciation. Sometimes in discussions, and I'm sure this is the same everywhere, we focus only on what is not working and not much on what actually is working. And we need to get that correct ratio of focusing on what is working versus what isn't. According to Nancy Klein, it should be 5-1, appreciation to challenge. I found that a bit surprising, that we should be 5 times more appreciative of people than the opposite. The human mind works best in the presence of appreciation. Encouragement. Competition doesn't ensure excellence. Being better than doesn't necessarily mean being good. avoiding internal competition between colleagues and replacing it with a wholehearted, unthreatened search for good ideas. Encouraging collaboration and spurring each other on will lead to cutting-edge ideas. Feelings. Unexpressed feelings can inhibit good thinking. Rather allow emotional release to restore thinking. Thinking stops when we're upset, but if we express our feelings just enough, our thinking restarts. So these days, we often have it backwards, and we stigmatize emotional expression that encourages us to repress rather than to allow our emotions to be released. We mistakenly think that when we start to have feelings, our thinking stops. Whether it's crying, shouting in anger, or shaking in fear, they're natural outlets for emotional release. By preventing it, we interfere with the process that helps us to think again. So if people show signs of feelings in your teams, allow them to go through that instead of getting to that really upset part. Let them relax, welcome the feelings, and soon enough, good thinking will resume. Information. Full and accurate information results in intellectual integrity. So supplying facts, recognizing social context, all fills in the blanks. I don't know about you, but I've certainly been in situations where a manager has been a bit sparse with providing information that would allow me to deliver an amazing report or a piece of analysis or whatever it is. If I don't know or understand all the facts, how can I deliver that amazing work? Difference. The greater the diversity in the group, the greater the differing points of view, the greater the chance of accurate cutting-edge thinking. So it's about welcoming that diversity of thought. Incisive questions. This is the idea of removing untrue assumptions that we hold about ourselves. An example might be, if you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do? If you knew you were trusted, what would you do? If you knew you were infinitely resourceful, what would you do? So it helps us to remove that question, helps us to remove the assumption that allows our mind to be free again. So, and a question maybe for all of us today would be, what step do you want to take in your life right now? And what are you assuming is stopping you from taking that step? So what is it that you are assuming that is stopping you moving into that? Lastly, it's place, and it's about creating an environment by being, in a team space, doesn't have to be a place particularly, but an environment that tells your team that they matter. So by constructing a thinking environment, our teams become more open to in-depth, concentrated reflection, and as a result, we arrive at conclusions that are more insightful and have a greater effect. We set the path for more meaningful discussions and giving everyone in the team a voice, and our overall intelligence in the group is amplified. So what leadership characteristics do you need to develop to support others in their leadership development? Number one, it's probably not a surprise, is emotional intelligence, which is the ability to perceive, understand, and manage your own emotions and relationships, becoming aware of emotions in yourself and others, and using that to guide your thinking and behavior. A large part of developing leaders is about the way you interact with each member of your team. If you can level with people, understand the issues they face, be sensitive to different perspectives, you'll be far better equipped to help them overcome their barriers and work together. Being aware of and increasing our emotional intelligence will mean that we're better prepared to support and guide people. It's not surprising that successful leaders seem to have a higher than average level of emotional intelligence. And being emotionally intelligent requires a focus both on understanding your viewpoint and being able to empathize with the viewpoints of others. That provides the basis you need to work closely with your team on a personal level. Know your team's strengths. Everyone's different. As you develop individuals for leadership or general development, tailor your focus to the person that you're interacting with. Each person will bring something unique to your team or organization. Your job as the leader is to find out what that person's strength is and help them develop that skill. Having a genuine understanding of the individuals in your team and what they need to work towards will allow you to efficiently plan and execute projects. It has been found by Gallup that people who use their strengths every day are 6 times more engaged. Ask people what they want. Don't simply develop a leadership program. Bring the people into the conversation. Ask what excites them, what they would like to learn, where they want to go in the future. There may be hidden talents that you haven't seen. Listen and tailor your steps around their answers, and that will show that you value your people and you're prepared to help them reach their goals. Your leadership and coaching should aid them on their road to leadership or general development. The best way, actually, is to help them take control of their own development. Empower them. Once you know their strengths and where they want to go, help them to put them into practice. Give them a go. Let them have a go. Give them responsibility over tasks that will help them develop in those areas. This could be providing stretch assignments, letting them take the reins on a new project, or pushing them to take the lead on a call. The best way is to learn by doing, and the more autonomy you give, the more you will demonstrate trust and confidence in their abilities. But make sure they know that you're not expecting them to improve instantly overnight. Development is a process, and there will be setbacks on the way, but that's where you would come in, checking in regularly, being available with advice and feedback when needed, without encroaching on their sense of autonomy. And the most important one of all is feedback. People don't develop without feedback. If we aren't aware of where we can improve, there's no allowance to change and build on what is going well. Providing effective and real-time feedback is the most important element. So finally, why is it important to develop your team? With the fast pace of industry changes and almost monthly need for new skills, it's really important that we keep learning and growing. We do live in a VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. A person by Deloitte estimates that today's skills only have a life of 2.5 to 5 years. So investing in developing leaders and team members is important, both from a business and a personal perspective. None of us really wants to turn up to work and complete our daily tasks without a sense of accomplishment or fulfillment. 2/3 of millennials expect their managers to help bring them to the next level by providing development opportunities. So investing in developing your employees or team members to become leaders and progress to the next level is the mark of a successful leader. Like anything worthwhile, it takes time to develop. It takes time to see the return on the investment. The key is authenticity. In order to foster a learning or a coaching environment, you need a thinking environment. So in summary, we've looked at the importance of leadership and how much a team and organization as a whole is dependent on that good leadership. We've looked at the leader as a coach and how to be an effective leader and what characteristics are needed. We've looked at the thinking environment and the 10 behaviors. We've looked at the leadership characteristics that you as a leader should really look at to develop yourself, and the importance of developing your team. And that is me done.
Thank you ever so much for the time and everything that you put into that presentation. I know I certainly benefited from it, and I do hope that all those that have joined have been able to, yes, take away a few nuggets to be able to put into practice. Now, once again, thank you very much, Caron.
A pleasure.
You all. Thank you all for joining today. And we're coming up to, obviously, we usually do these once a month, but December, I believe that we're not doing one because it's Christmas. Is that right, Christian?
Yeah, it'd be on Christmas Eve. And we didn't want to do it too close to this one, so it'll be into 2025, but we'll share details of upcoming events and stuff.
And presentations.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, lovely. Thank you all, and hopefully we'll see you again.